It's time for change with the Content 10x podcast and our overall content strategy. To find out what the changes are and specifically how and why we made our decisions, to help you review your content approach too, keep on listening. You're listening to the Content 10x podcast, where it's all about content repurposing. I'm Amy Woods, and I'm here to help you maximise your content and find smart ways to get your message in front of more of the right people, whilst also saving time. Let's get started. Hello and welcome to this episode of the Content 10x podcast. As always, I'm your host, Amy Woods, founder of Content 10x, and this is the second episode of 2022, so I hope your year is going really well so far. Now, I love the start of the year because it's often a time for goal setting, maybe pressing the reset button on things we are doing or even the stop button, and it's definitely a time for change, try new things, planning, and just making sure that we're doing the things we need to do to achieve our goals. In this episode, I'm really excited to share some of the changes and plans that we have in store here at Content 10x with our content, and I'm going to pass on some tips and advice with regards to how we make our decisions and why, to hopefully help you when doing the same kind of activity. So let's get started. Now, we decided it was time to make some changes, but we really didn't want to just go ahead with what we thought was best without getting available data, insights, and just good old feedback from our audience, because I think sometimes it's possible to make assumptions about what our audience want, and we don't realise that our assumptions are a bit too heavily skewed towards certain biases that we may have or just a lack of information. So we looked at all the available data. I'm talking podcast download numbers, video views, social media engagement, email open rates, basically anywhere where we're publishing content. If there was data, we got hold of it and we analysed it. But we also know that looking at data only tells you half of a story. So we also made the most of the ways that we could engage with our audience and speak to them. So we ran polls on LinkedIn and Twitter and Instagram stories. We were really specific with the questions that we asked. And I think a great thing about these interactive polls is that they're really easy to respond to, especially if you just keep things simple. And as well as social media feedback, we invited our email subscribers to get in touch too. So I mentioned some questions that I wanted answers to and asked for some feedback. And I personally reached out to people I know enjoy our content as well. So this was an approach we followed to get some information to base our decisions on, just to get that available data and find those ways to reach out to our audience and ask questions and reach out personally too. A really, really worthwhile activity, and from the results of it all, this is what we've decided. So firstly, the Content 10x podcast, so this show, will mainly focus on audio-only podcast episodes. So we're not going to do as many video podcasts as we did in 2021, which was maybe about 50% of our podcast episodes were video podcasts, because we found that listening to our podcasts is preferred over watching the videos. And I guess that's not really surprising, given that I'm generally talking to you, the busy business owner, content marketers, leaders within industries, and people who probably prefer to listen whilst doing something else like driving or walking versus sitting down and watching a video. So we've decided if that's what you want, then that's what we'll do, because what's good about this is that creating audio-only episodes isn't quite so time-consuming as videos, which means we can create other content. Now, a downside is we won't have as many social media videos because we were repurposing the longer video podcasts into short social media videos. But this isn't the worst, because another thing that we've decided to do is try different approaches with our social media. So more on that in a moment. Hey, just a little break from this podcast episode to ask you a question. Would you like one single place that you can go to that provides you with everything you need to be able to implement the best practices in content repurposing for your video content, your podcast episodes, and your social media content today? to help you get more value from the content that you create, get more time back, and help you reach more people than you ever thought possible. If so, then you are going to love the Content 10x Toolkit. The toolkit is full of video tutorials, templates, checklists, swipe files, step-by-step guides and more that shows you how to repurpose your content in the best ways possible today. No more Googling, no more figuring it out yourself. We provide you with everything that you need to become a content repurposing pro. If this sounds like something that would interest you, then go check out the Content 10x Toolkit at content10x.com/toolkit. Okay, and back to this week's episode. But yeah, for the podcast, we're doing more audio only, and we've decided that we're going to carry on with guest interviews. So we're going to stick to once a month, bringing a brilliant guest on the show and interviewing them. Now, I do love bringing guests on the show and letting them share their valuable insights with us all. And from feedback, we've seen that you love this too. So they will be video interviews, and there'll be lots of audio and video content coming from those wonderful conversations with the guests that we have on the show. And that'll continue on a monthly basis. Now, the next big feedback we had was that you want more how-to content and practical advice. We discovered that this is what people want, so in 2022 we are going to almost go back to more the style of the show when it first started actually, and just really hone in on specific aspects and types of repurposing and create episodes around that. So we're really excited about this because we actually have a method that we're following in our planning for the shows to try and make sure that we cover as many different types of content as possible and fully explore all the repurposing opportunities that there are. So get ready to get some really implementable, actionable repurposing tips each and every week. And if there's anything you want us to cover, then please do let me know. And then continuing on from this, I mentioned that I'm not doing as many video podcasts, but I do want to make sure that we still create awesome video content. But we're going to continue with video content that's going to be more how-to videos. So videos created more with YouTube in mind, because this is what we see our audience on YouTube to like the most. We know it's that really helpful content, that how-to content that people really like. So there will be lots of great video content, and it's going to be more how-to for YouTube. On social media, we're making some tweaks to our content too. Now, I won't go into too much detail with this because it's very specific to us, but just for example, on Instagram, when we share video content, we're going to only share that as either reels or stories. So not posting just a video grid post, but actually it'll be reels that can be shared on the main grid or stories, because right now this seems the best approach for us on Instagram. And you just have to be really nimble with social media platforms and keep an eye on what's working, and we believe that that's what's working right now. So that's just one example of the tweaks that we're making on social media. But the other big news for us, which I'm super excited about, is that we're launching a brand new podcast in 2022. So the Content 10x podcast has been running for over 4 years now, which is amazing, but this is going to be its first ever sibling. So our new show is going to be an interview show where I'll be speaking to marketing leaders in the industries that we work with here at Content 10x, and there's a really specific focus to the show which I'm sure you are going to love. I can't share too much now because we're just refining the show before launch, but there's more to come on this soon, so that's very exciting. Keep an eye out for our new podcast in 2022. So as you can see, lots of changes afoot, and we tried to make sure our decisions took into account our audience and their behaviour and their feedback. Now, one thing I want to mention is that it's really important we're all iterating on our content as the content marketing landscape changes and consumer behaviour changes all the time. So this is something I heartily encourage you to do so you can stay on top when so many businesses are staying stuck in their ways with a content strategy that's not changed for far too long. The start of the year is a great time to review things, but let's face it, any time is good. I also like to review things when we hit milestones as well. So I'm really excited for the year ahead and all the brilliant content that we've got planned for you. Please do get in touch if you have any feedback, or specifically if there is anything you'd like advice on with regards to how to repurpose it. And as I said, we're going to be providing a lot more how-to content, and there's going to be this big focus on how to repurpose X into Y. So if you have an X and you want tips on how to repurpose into Y, then let me know. Of course, if you want help with your content repurposing, then do not hesitate to get in touch with us. At Content 10X, we offer a fully done for you end-to-end content repurposing services for businesses that are creating podcast and video content. So head over to content10x.com to find out more about that. And if you prefer more the DIY approach, then please do grab a hold of my book, Content 10X, More Content, Less Time, Maximum Results. You can get a copy of that on Amazon or Barnes & Noble online, or just head to content10x.com/book. Please do follow me on social media. I'm at Content 10X on all the social media platforms, and you'll find Amy Woods, Content 10X founder, on LinkedIn as well. So connect with me and let me know that you listen to the podcast. So all that's left to say is thank you so much for listening to this episode, and I will catch you in the next one.